see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sex.
Not many realized exactly when that moment began. Amidst the hustle and bustle of the 2026 MotoGP paddock, everything seemed normal, until data from the Circuito de Jerez began quietly circulating. Not just any data, but numbers that made some engineers think longer than necessary. Toprak Razgatlioglu's name was back in the spotlight, but this time it wasn't because of a spectacular stunt on the front camera. Quite the opposite. What he was doing hidden behind closed doors, telemetry charts and split times that were now the hottest topic behind garage doors. What made this situation feel different was the pattern. It wasn't just one fast lap, not just a lucky break. The data showed something consistent, repeatable, and controlled. Toprak entered corners at speeds previously considered too risky for the Yamaha package, yet still exited with near-perfect stability. Some analysts called this an anomaly too fast to be a coincidence. In the technical department, especially in the area of quick changes of direction, the usually stiff Yamaha appeared supple in Toprak's hands. The bike moved as if it understood what its rider wanted, something that had been their Achilles heel. There were also indications that Yamaha's approach had fundamentally changed. It was no longer simply about chasing top speed, but about establishing a balance between grip, weight distribution, and engine response. And Toprak's performance was truly dominant. He wasn't just riding the bike, but rather reading it and adjusting with each lap. Meanwhile, the reactions of rival teams were beginning to be felt, though not overtly expressed. Several crews were seen gathering in front of the monitors, more frequently comparing sectors. Some were trying to understand, others were starting to worry. The most striking thing was the change in rhythm. Usually, testing sessions were just a chance to experiment. But this time in Jerez, Toprak's pace felt like a simulation of a real race, smooth, fast, and error-free. This wasn't just preparation, it was a silent statement that something was underway. Strikingly, there were no celebrations, no grandiose claims. Everything was quiet. But it was precisely in that silence that the effect was even more powerful. Because when a team doesn't talk much but the data speaks louder, there's usually something truly serious going on. And here's the full story. Something felt different from the first day of testing at the Circuito de Jerez. It wasn't the crowds, nor the weather or track conditions. The difference came from something less immediately apparent: data. And as that data slowly began to circulate within the 2026 MotoGP paddock, the mood shifted. It all started with a small whisper among the engineers. One Yamaha rider's numbers seemed unbelievable compared to the previous baseline. Toprak Razgatlioglu's name came up again, but this time with a different tone. Not just admiration, but curiosity, even a hint of concern. The first thing that caught my attention was Toprak's approach to cornering. While Yamaha had previously been known to sacrifice entry speed for stability, now that pattern seemed to be reversed. The data showed that Toprak maintained high speed until the final braking point, then executed a very sharp deceleration without losing front-end grip. On paper, it sounded almost impossible. But graph after graph showed the same thing. Deeper braking, aggressive lean angles, and consistently smooth transitions. Even in technical areas that had long been Yamaha's Achilles heel, Toprak's lap times were not only competitive, they were consistent. This consistency was what really made the paddock take notice. A single fast lap might come from a slipstream, or ideal track conditions. But when that performance was repeated over a long run, with tire degradation kept under control, the story was very different. This wasn't a fluke. It was the result of meticulously designed engineering. Several sources reported that Yamaha had introduced a new approach to the weight distribution and braking characteristics of its V4 engine. These changes might not be visible from the outside, but they were clearly felt in the way the bike entered and exited corners. And what made it even more interesting was that Toprak seemed to be the only rider truly able to exploit this potential to its full potential. In fast sections, the difference might not be as noticeable. But when it came to the technical twists and turns of Jerez, that's when it really became apparent. The Yamaha, which was usually a bit stiff, now moved more lively. Changes of direction felt quicker, and most importantly, more stable during the initial acceleration phase. The reaction from other teams began to shift from mere curiosity to serious analysis. The monitors in the garage no longer just displayed internal data, but also sector comparisons with Toprak. Some engineers were even seen taking manual notes, trying to understand where they'd previously overlooked advantages lay. Interestingly, no single factor explained everything. It wasn't just the engine, it wasn't just aerodynamics, and it wasn't just riding style. It was a combination of them all. And in that combination, Toprak was the central point that held all of them together. His famously aggressive riding style now seemed more controlled. He still used extreme late braking, but with greater precision. He still attacked corners with sharp angles, but without losing momentum on the exit. There was a clear evolution, not a change in character, but a refinement. Some observers have called this the phase where a rider and bike truly begin to sync. And if that's true, then what happened in Jerez wasn't just a simple performance boost, but the beginning of something that could change the balance of the competition. Behind all this, Toprak himself remained calm. There were no grand pronouncements, no claims that they had found the perfect solution. But in racing, the most dangerous teams are often those that work in silence, because when the results come, it's often too late for others to catch up. Now, the attention of the entire MotoGP paddock is shifting. While previously focused on the dominance of certain teams, there's now a new variable that can't be ignored. Yamaha, through Toprak, is slowly beginning to show that they are no longer just competitors, they are once again serious contenders. And perhaps most importantly, the message from Jerez comes not in words, but in numbers. Numbers that are hard to deny, hard to explain, and most importantly, hard to ignore. What happened at the Circuito de Jerez may have been just a test. But for those who understand the meaning of the data, it's a clear signal. Something is changing in MotoGP 2026, and the center of that change is one name: Toprak Razgatlioglu.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it